It only took two, I don't know, maybe 3 months, but ESPN has finally mentioned Lia Thomas. Now, I don't count the brief mention on January 20th. That's not what I'm talking about. ESPN that day, they briefly mentioned transgender athletes on, I think it was Sports Center. Technically, Lia Thomas was briefly brought up in that story, but she wasn't the focus of the segment. This time, we got an entire article from ESPN about Lia Thomas. And oh, what an article it was! It was just so beautifully written. Lia Thomas holds some of the nation's best time in swimming. She is fiercely supported by the LGBT community. Look, she even has the support of Olympic swimmer Brooke Ford. Clearly, this woman has the nation's support. Her detractors just need to shut the hell up. Katie Barnes is a featured writer for ESPNW. Now, to be fair, Katie Barnes has mentioned Lia Thomas a couple of times over the past week or so. I did a little bit of research on Katie Barnes. Um, yeah, I did a little bit of research. You guys know me. I always do my due diligence. Anytime I am sourcing something from a writer that I don't know anything about, I do my research so I know a little bit more about the source. Now, see for yourself. Here is Katie Barnes, an award winning journalist. She goes by the pronouns they, them, their, meaning I have already fucked up by calling her she. My bad, Katie Barnes. I'm sorry. You'll have to forgive me, but this non-binary thing, it can get a little bit confusing. You admit this yourself in your own bio. You see it right there? See it? She says even her parents are confused. Now, in all seriousness, though, I don't have anything against Katie Barnes. I'm sure she's a nice them, I guess. But something they or she or they said, it's so confusing. Something they said, reported yesterday, I find to be highly skeptical. Since late last year, we have talked about numerous stories of teammates of Lia Thomas being pissed off that she is being allowed to participate on the women's swim team at Penn. We have a lot of new subscribers here to the channel over the past few weeks, so for those of you that are new and don't know anything about Lia Thomas, let me give you a brief synopsis. Lia Thomas was born Will Thomas, like most of us who were born male, and I say most of us because I don't want to include the non binary in this, but like most of us born male, Will Thomas was born with a dong. It's unclear if he went through dong removal surgery and added another hole to his body, but what is clear, Will Thomas now identifies as a woman, changed his name to Lia Thomas. He now competes as a she on the swim team at Penn. Since late last year, we have heard numerous stories of young women on the Penn swim team, teammates of Lia Thomas, not happy that she is on the team. Parents have written letters to the administration at Penn, imploring them to get their head out of their ass and do something about this. Penn, of course, won't do shit about it. The NCAA won't do shit about it. They toss the ball to USA Swimming, who might actually be doing something about this. We'll talk about that in just a second. The point is, the young women at Penn, they are not supportive of Lia Thomas. So imagine my surprise when award winning journalist Katie Barnes writes an article for ESPN claiming teammates of Lia Thomas are supporting her. They want to be her teammate. They want her to crush their dreams. Headline at ESPN: Penn Quaker swim team members show support for transgender athlete Lia Thomas. The article claims members of the women's swim team at Penn released a statement on Tuesday in support of Lia Thomas. Here is what that statement said, quote, "We want to express our full support for Lia in her transition. We value her as a person, teammate, and friend. The sentiments put forward by an anonymous member of our team are not representative of our feelings, values, and opinions of the entire Penn team, composed of 39 women with diverse backgrounds." End quote. First of all, it wasn't the sentiment of an anonymous member, one anonymous member. It was the sentiment of several members of the Penn swim team. The exact number, I don't know. It hasn't been revealed. But Outkick and other outlets have spoken to several members of the team. Two, The teammates of Lia Thomas, they can support her transition. They can be supportive in that aspect and still not want her on the team. I support the transition of Lia Thomas. That doesn't mean I want her competing against my sister in an MMA fight. Of the 39 women on the Penn swim team, do I think all of them have a problem with Lia Thomas being on the team? No. I'm sure there are some, maybe one, two, three, who knows the number, but I'm sure there are some who don't give a shit. More than likely, they're the ones that aren't affected by Lia Thomas. She's not taking their spot. What I found most interesting, though, normally when public statements like this are released, they're signed by the people releasing the statement. For example, remember that group of doctors that went after Joe Rogan a few weeks ago? This man must be stopped. His podcast is full of misinformation regarding the COVID. We are losing our control over the peasants. You remember that? When they released their statement to the public, they signed their names to it. You know how many members of the women's swim team at Penn signed this statement? Zero. None. Katie Barnes, you are an award-winning journalist. Did you not think to fact-check this statement? I know ESPN has resources. Did you not reach out to members of the swim team at Penn? Ask for a comment? I'm assuming you didn't. Normally, when a journalist will reach out and people refuse to comment, it's stated in the article. It's not like doing due diligence is difficult. You know how long it took me to find the ladies on the Penn swim team? About 5 seconds. Found their full names, their bios. Within minutes, I had found several of them on social media. This is why I say journalism is dead. Katie Barnes didn't reach out because she knows most of these women don't support Lia Thomas. That doesn't fit the narrative. What does fit the narrative is this bullshit the university put out about the team being supportive. This statement was clearly drafted by Penn, not the students, not the kids on the team. An anonymous Penn spokesperson, probably the same social justice warrior who wrote the statement, but an anonymous Penn spokesperson said, "This statement represents several women on the swim team who support Lia Thomas." Yeah, I'm sure it does. So many of these young ladies were just rushing to sign this shit, Penn had to immediately put a stop to it. We were worried that these women who were so excited to show their support of Lia Thomas would violate COVID guidelines by signing this letter. They rushed into the room as a group and it violated social distancing guidelines. We felt that it was best to send the ladies back to their respective dorms and release the statement unsigned. This is such virtue signaling bullshit. But there may be light at the end of the tunnel for the ladies at Penn. The actual ladies, or biological ladies, as the virgins like to call them. It is being reported USA Swimming is about to implement stringent guidelines on transgender athletes. They're going to have to provide evidence that their testosterone levels are under the standards of compliance for a full 36 months prior to the application they turn in to compete. 36 months. They'll have to show 3 years of basically non-existent testosterone, which means goodbye, Lia Thomas. She was competing on the men's team in 2019. It would be impossible for her to provide 3 years of records. Now, I'm sure the NCAA was just so triggered when they heard this news yesterday. They kicked the can down the road, hoping USA Swimming would take the heat for allowing Lia Thomas to compete. If she ends up being not allowed to compete, social justice warriors, they're not going to blame USA Swimming. They're going to blame the NCAA. This should be a simple problem for adults to solve. Hell, this shouldn't even be a problem. Lia Thomas can't compete against women. End of story. I don't care if she identifies as a woman. These identifiers, they're getting out of control. Just because you identify as a woman doesn't mean you're a woman. If I identified as a bed, does that mean beautiful women are going to just lay on top of me? No. I don't believe for a second that the women of Penn support Lia Thomas being on the team. It doesn't surprise me that ESPN's reporting that they do. We all know ESPN's no longer journalism, it's agenda-based propaganda. USA Swimming needs to move quickly on Lia Thomas. Penn competes again in 2 weeks. The NCAA championship, 6 weeks away. Lia Thomas should not be allowed to steal a championship in swimming from a young woman who deserves it. All right, let me know what you guys think. Do you believe Katie Barnes, ESPN, that young women on the Penn swim team support Lia Thomas being on the roster? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.